Good morning, students. Welcome to today's session. Students, we have been doing Unit 3, of which the theme is adventure. We already have had two lessons describing the theme that adventure is not just doing daring things, it's a feeling or attitude of mind that makes you feel something different, bold, courageous. Today we have a poem with us that is Sea Fever, having the similar theme of adventure. The poem is written by one of the famous English poet John Masefield, who was born in 1878 and died in 1967. He was a poet and writer and is known for the poems like The Everlasting Mercy and Sea Fever. He was also he also had been the poet laureate of England from 1913 to 1967. We will start with the reading of the poem first, but before you read the poem, please go through the difficult words that I have listed in this slide so that you will be familiar with when you go through the poem. After going through the poem, after going through these words, let's see the poem. Let's go through the poem. I must go down to the seas again, to the lonely sea and the sky. And all I ask is a tall ship and a star to steer her by. And the wheels kick and the wind's song and the white sails shaking, and a grey mist on the sea's surface and a grey dawn breaking. I must go down to the seas again, for call of the running tide is a wild call and a clear call that may not be denied. And all I ask is a windy day with the white clouds flying, and the flung spray and the blown spume, and the seagulls crying. I must go down to the seas again, to the vagrant gypsy life, to the girl's way and the whale's way, where the wind's like a whetted knife. And all I ask is a merry yarn from a laughing fellow rover, and quiet sleep and a sweet dream when the long trick's over. Students, the poem is about a person who eventually is the speaker here, the poet here, who has a deep love for the sea voyage. In the present poem, he finds himself on the shore and feels a powerful call or urge for a sea journey, and eventually he cannot refuse to take a sea journey or a sea voyage. Let's try to understand the poem in detail. In the first stanza, the poet or the speaker says, I must go down to the seas again, to the lonely sea and the sky, and all I ask is a tall ship and a star to steer her by. And the wheels kick, and the wind's song, and the white sails shaking, and a grey mist on the sea's face, and a grey dawn breaking. In the first stanza, the speaker expresses his wish or his desire for a voyage, for a sea voyage, where he wishes to have a big ship, and he wants to sail in the light of pole star that guides or that helps the sailor to identify the direction as it is always in the north direction. So he wishes to go for a sea voyage on a tall ship, on a big ship, as it always appeals to him, it always attracts to him. He also asks or wishes a day or a journey when there is mist on the surface of the sea, or in the atmosphere there is mist, as it is a dawn, meaning it's the beginning of the day before the sunrise. The second stanza describes again the kind of atmosphere he wants during his sea voyage. He says, I must go down to the seas again, for the call of the running tide is a wild call and a clear call that may not be denied. He says that he, he has a feeling that the sea is calling him, the running tide of the sea is always calling him, and it's a very clear call for him, and he could not refuse, he could not deny going after his desire or passion for sea voyage. And all I ask is a windy day with the white clouds flying and the flung spray and the blown spume and the seagulls crying. It's clear that he wants to go on a sea voyage, and he wants to go on a voyage when the day is cloudy and the wind is blowing sharply, and there the foam on the water of on the surface of the sea is spread here and there, and he wants to hear the cries of the seagulls. Seagulls, as you know, is a large bird living in the coastal areas. So he wants to enjoy such kind of weather, such kind of atmosphere during his sea voyage. In the final stanza, the speaker speaks that I must go down to the seas again, to the vagrant gypsy life, to the girl's way and the whale's way, where the wind's like a whetted knife. He wants to go for a sea voyage, for he loves to enjoy the life of a gypsy, a vagrant gypsy. As you know, gypsies are the people who don't stay at the same place for longer. They are wanderer, they are vagrant, and the poet also feels an urge for having such an adventurous life. He wants to live his life the way the seagulls and the whales enjoy. He also wants to experience the sharp blowing air which seems like piercing to the ear or pinching the body as a sharp knife. And all I ask is a merry yarn from a laughing fellow rover, and quiet sleep and a sweet dream when the long trek's over. He also wishes to have merry yarn. Merry yarn means anecdotes, tales, or stories from the companion on the ship, which consists of fun and humor, and having finished his journey, he wants to have a sound sleep and a sweet dream. So, this is what the poem is all about. Students, the main theme of the poem, as I already have described, is adventure, the feeling of adventure that one feels or one has while doing different things, and one of them is a sea journey. The poem has more than one poetic devices, such as alliteration, that you already know is the repetition of consonant sound at the beginning of closely placed words, such as a star to steer her way. You can see the sound S is repeated in the next word at the beginning. Similarly, there is one more poetic devices, which is assonance. Assonance is almost similar to the alliteration, but the difference is here vowel sounds repeat, as you can see in the phrase all I ask. Here a is a vowel sound which is repeating at the beginning of all and ask. So this is an example of assonance. The next important poetic device used in the poem is full of imagery. We have already learned about imagery, that it helps reader to perceive, to imagine the things through the senses, such as you can form a picture, or you can perceive any sound through your ears, or you feel something through your senses. Here in the poem we can see the second line, all I ask is a tall ship and a star to steer her by. As you read this as you read this line, you starts imagining the thing. You starts forming a picture in your mind that you are on a ship in the night and the star shining in the sky. That's all about the poem. I hope it's very clear to you. Thank you.